The Feng family's dueling generals can use part of the abilities of the spirits living in their bodies during their lifetimes. Feng Xingtong happened to have Wang Zizong, one of the 9 great national players, in his body. Feng Xingtong used the ability of his spirit body to temporarily glue Feng Baobao's wound with qi, and was about to ask his subordinates to find a suitable source of blood. Xu San and Xu Si arrived, and Xu Si's first words were to tell Feng Xingtong to stop. Faced with Feng Xingtong's doubts, Xu Si just downplayed it, saying that he was asking him to stop from the company's standpoint, and they would naturally be responsible regardless of life or death. In this way, the group of people left Tianshui with Feng Baobao. In the car, Zhang Chulan asked Xu Si why Feng Baobao was allowed to come alone. They knew Feng Baobao better than him. Thinking that Feng Baobao might die because of him, he angrily grabbed Xu Si's collar. And Xu San was driving. Asked Zhang Chulan not to disturb the baby's rest and let him listen carefully. Zhang Chulan looked at Feng Baobao with confusion on his face. He found that the breathing was really not the breathing of a seriously injured or dying person, and the bleeding had stopped. The shocked Zhang Chulan asked a series of questions. What exactly did she do? Who is he? Why is he so strong? Why is he so persistent with me? Why do you want me to be by his side at all costs? Xu Si told him that it was the company's order for her to win over you at any cost. As for what the company is interested in is your background in Tianxi Mansion. They will fully support him in becoming the new Tianxi. But Zhang Chulan didn't believe that people like Sister Bao would pay for their lives. Xu San said that Sister Bao's situation was a bit similar to his. In exchange for Bao Bao's work, they would help Bao Bao find out her past, because she couldn't remember anything about her origins. At the same time, Zhang Lingyu from the Tianxi Mansion visited Hu Lin and invited his son to participate in the Luotian festival. This time, the Heavenly Master invited even strangers from outside the Taoist sect, and Zhang Lingyu hoped that he could participate in person. The more upright masters come, the less likely mistakes will be made. Hu Lin assured him that he would support this event with all his strength. After conveying the old master's meaning, Zhang Lingyu left. After he left, Hu Lin, who had an upright face, suddenly flushed after seeing a woman. And this woman is Shahi, the bone scraper, one of the 4 madnesses. At this time, Shahi was sitting on the bed with his son. When Hu Lin saw the two of them sitting together, he was instantly furious. The son wanted to steal my woman. He also shouted that I love Shahi, please help us both. Zhang Lingyu never dreamed that Hu Lin, a decent man, would have fallen at Shahi's feet. After Hu Lin learned that the person coming was Zhang Lingyu, Shahi also had a thoughtful expression. As long as he let Hu Jia attend, he would help him get the qualification to be the heir. Hu Lin said that he must have fought for his life, but he was also worried that there were so many masters and his own strength was not good enough. At this moment, a man's voice sounded, there is nothing to be afraid of. Shah, he can make you make this determination, and I can help you have the power needed to achieve your goal. This man is Miao Chenchong, one of the 4 madmen. Later, Shen Chong and Shah he came to a place. As Lu Liang was controlling an object with qi in his hand, Shah he and Shen Chong were watching next to him. At the same time, there was a person whose whole body was shrouded in black shadow. This man is the master of all nature. The sect leader has come in person, so one can imagine how important the things in Lu Liang's hands are. With a sound, Lu Liang finally completed the refining, and this was Zhang Xilin's memory. Lu Liang took the lead to check it, and the 3 people on the side stared at him nervously. What they got this time was part of Zhang Xilin's memory. This memory was about the outcome of the strong survivors of the Jiashan Rebellion. Although the information was small, it was important, but Lu Liang told the leader a more important news. Afterwards, the 3 people behind him were immediately shocked and said that his news was more interesting than Qi Ti Yuanlu. Then, he saw Lu Liang smiling evilly at the side and asked him if he was holding back something bad. Lu Liang asked everyone to come forward. Then he told his plan, and all 3 people looked excited. Ever since the baby was injured and has been in a coma, Zhang Chulan has been taking care of him. Xu San and Xu Si came that day. They asked Zhang Chulan to go to class, saying that they were watching. After Zhang Chulan left, Xu San asked Xu Si how long he could deceive Zhang Chulan with his words. Xu Si said, after all, he's not stupid, he will always find something wrong, but wait until he wants to get over it. At this moment, Feng Baobao suddenly woke up, and at the same time, Xu San answered the phone, but his expression changed instantly. At the same time, after Zhang Chulan came out, he kept thinking thoughtfully, and there was someone sneaking behind him, following someone who saw Zhang Chulan walking into the woods, and that person followed him in. It was Quan Sheng, Lu Liang. After he came in, he realized that he had lost track of him. But at this moment, Zhang Chulan appeared behind him again. Lu Liang didn't have any ill intentions when he came to Zhang Chulan, saying that he just came to apologize. Then he gave him the memory he got from his grandfather's body, saying that there was only one scene, which was the scene before his death. Zhang Chulan asked him what it meant to have a complete body and a chassis, and whether he also planned to collect the 8 powers of the year. Lu Liang said that he didn't know about Guangxing. He personally had no interest in those forces, but now they were all interested in the truth of the Jiashan Rebellion. Before leaving, he also told Zhang Chulan that it was interesting for me that you got this information. When Zhang Chulan saw this scene, he ran away instantly. He ran back desperately. All he thought about was that it was impossible. He wanted to go back and confront them, but when we arrived at the residence, there was no one inside. Zhang Chulan knew that she had been deceived, so why did she win him over based on his background? It was all a lie, because the last scene he saw in his grandfather's memory was Feng Baobao killing him. Zhang Chulan was sitting on the ground blankly, and he couldn't figure it out. Why was it that the last scene that Grandpa saw before his death 12 years ago was Baobao Feng? She had not changed at all from now. At this moment, his phone rang. After receiving the call, Zhang Chulan came to a hospital, where Shu San, Shu Si and Feng Baobao were all there. There was also an old man lying on the hospital bed. He was Shu San and Shu Si, father Shu Shang. The old man was in coma for a long time. When he woke up, he called Shu San as soon as possible and said he wanted to see Zhang Chulan. Zhang Chulan happened to have something to ask them. He stared at Feng Baobao and asked her if she killed his grandfather. The three of them were stunned at the same time. Shu San and the other two wanted to stop it, but Baobao admitted it himself. He said it was her. After receiving the answer, Zhang Chulan ran away instantly, and the protective golden light in her body was fully activated. Shu San and Shu Si asked him to calm down. At this time, the old man also spoke. He decided to tell Zhang Chulan everything and let him listen before deciding whether to take action. The old man said that he would tell him everything he knew about Wu. Regarding the name Wu, Zhang Chulan didn't know who it was. The old man said it was the baby, and he was used to it after so many years. He said that the first time he met Wu was 1944 years ago. Zhang Chulan was shocked when he heard about 1944. He couldn't believe it. That was more than 70 years ago. Then the old man slowly told the story. It was the summer of 1944. In the deep mountains of Sichuan, there is a quiet and peaceful village, but all the peace is broken by the sudden appearance of a strange girl, who seems to appear out of thin air in a cave. She walked out of the cave in a daze and met two villagers who were cutting firewood. The two men looked at her for a long time and realized that the girl seemed a little stupid, so they became evil. The girls seemed to have no reaction to the man's violence, but a couple appeared at that moment, and they drove the man away and saved the girl. Seeing that the girl was pitiful, they took him back home. They had a son, nicknamed Guozi and named Shu Shang. After returning home, the couple found that not only did the girl remember nothing, she could not even speak. The couple had a problem. The girl was dressed like a child from a wealthy family, but she couldn't speak. If she couldn't find her family, she had to stay at their house. This would undoubtedly be a source of gossip in this feudal village. But Aunt Zhao was kind-hearted. She said she couldn't find him, so she stayed at their house. It was too dangerous for her as a girl to be outside. In this way, the girl stayed at Aunt Zhao's house. I also asked around the area, but there were no clues about the girl. At that time, it was not uncommon for people to flee into the mountains to avoid disaster. Uncle Shu and Aunt Zhao have always been upright, and the people in the village got used to it after 2 days of being new to this matter. Since the girl couldn't ask anything and couldn't even speak, everyone called her Wu. Before the decline of Aunt Zhao's family, they were an educated family, so they asked Wu to speak, and the matter fell on Aunt Zhao. Although Wu is stupid, he learns things very quickly, and within a few months he can speak almost fluently. Aunt Zhao said that this was probably because she was not really unable to speak, but because her head was stimulated by something and she forgot everything. And that seems to be the case. Wu wrote the words Feng Baobao on the ground that day. She said it seemed to be her name and she only remembered this. Aunt Zhao wanted to ask her if she could think of anything else besides her name. But Feng Baobao suddenly had a headache and was rolling on the ground. Guozi hurriedly ran to invite Uncle Shu. He used to be a doctor when he was in the martial arts world. But when they arrived, Feng Baobao was sitting on the ground with a cross breath next to him. There was also a refreshing breeze blowing, and several people looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. But the well-informed Uncle Shu saw something. He said that this was training Shi. When he was young, he had an expert as his master. Although that person accepted him, he didn't have the talent. After practicing for several years, he couldn't develop anything, so he had to give up later. But the master didn't let him go down the mountain empty-handed, and finally passed on the medical skills to him. When Uncle Shu left, he told Aunt Zhao not to tell anyone about this girl, so as not to cause trouble, and Feng Baobao practiced until dark. Shu Shang stayed with him all the time. When the baby woke up, he curiously asked her who taught her how to practice qi. Feng Baobao didn't know. She said she seemed to have known it before, and pointed to Shu Zhang's forehead and said that it was also in his body. Feng Baobao could feel the existence of qi in his body, and then taught Shu Shang how to practice qi. At first, Shu Shang couldn't feel it because he had too many distracting thoughts. Finally, with the help of Baobao, qi was successfully gathered, and he entered the world of aliens by accident. Later, under the guidance of Feng Baobao, practicing qi became something he must do every day. Because he was afraid that his parents wouldn't let him, no one except him and Feng Baobao knew about it. But what they didn't know was that obtaining qi sense was the most difficult and dangerous thing. If it weren't for Feng Baobao's help, he would probably die suddenly or be permanently disabled. During the time he lived at Aunt Zhao's house, Feng Baobao not only learned to communicate, but Aunt Zhao also taught him Sichuan folk songs. The family worked at sunrise and rested at sunset, and their days were considered happy. How wonderful it would be if time stopped flowing like this. But in the spring of 1949, something unexpected happened. At this time, Wu had been living in Aunt Zhao's house for 5 or 6 years. On this day, a person suddenly came to the house. It was Aunt Shu from the village. He wanted Wu to be his daughter-in-law, but Aunt Zhao naturally disagreed. Guozi even refused to do it. Although her family's conditions were good, her son was a fool, and the two families quarreled. In the end, Uncle Shu asked Ah Wu what he meant. Ah Wu was stunned because he had no idea what his daughter-in-law did. Fortunately, Aunt Zhao protected her and didn't agree to anything. After returning home, Aunt Zhao discussed that she should help him find his family as soon as possible. But it was easy for her to say that she still hadn't seen him after so many years, but Guozi blushed and suggested that if he couldn't find him again, he would give Ah Wu a name. Aunt Zhao saw her son's thoughts and said that she would accept her as her daughter and not let him think nonsense. However, Uncle Shu talked again and said that he thought the child was too cold, and even the dog he raised would be a little bit cold. Emotion. But he felt that Ah Wu didn't feel as close to them as he did to his family. Aunt Zhao felt that he was overthinking, and then ran out to ask Ah Wu Shi if he liked them and if he liked Guozi. Ah Wu looked at them blankly, and then asked Aunt Zhao, what does it mean to like? She tried her best to figure it out, but to no avail, and Aunt Zhao didn't force Ah Wu anymore. But at night, Ah Wu kept thinking about this problem until he went to bed. He had a headache and his face was filled with tears. Since then, Aunt Zhao has never mentioned this issue again. But that day, something unexpected happened in the village. Bandits entered the village. They kidnapped all the villagers and took away all their valuables. Before leaving, he planned to set fire to burn all the villagers to death. By chance, Ah Wu, who had gone up the mountain to collect firewood, came back, still singing a song, and walked past the gangsters. Big Beard looked at Ah Wu and felt evil in his heart, and prepared to take him back to the mountain. Uncle Shu kept begging to save Ah Wu, but the gangster had no humanity at all and killed Uncle Shu with a single blow. Aunt Zhao and her son were in grief. Guozi wanted to avenge his father, but his thin body was no match for the gangsters and he was kicked to the ground. Aunt Zhao was holding her comatose son and her dead wife beside her. She was heartbroken. Aunt Zhao kept looking at him. Seeing Aunt Zhao sad, she also had some changes in her heart. Then she broke away from the bandit and ran to Aunt Zhao. He said, I don't know why I feel a little sad when I see you like this. He pointed at his chest and said this. He said, I don't want to see you cry. I don't want to see Uncle Shu and Guozi get hurt. I want to see you smile, and I want to hear you sing Huang Yang Panda. He asked Aunt Zhao, this is proof that I like you. He said, Aunt Zhao, I like you, I like Uncle, and I also like Guozi. Aunt Zhao bit her lip and shed tears. He didn't know how to describe it, and the child couldn't blame him for not understanding this. Ah Wu wanted to make Aunt Zhao happy and asked him what he could do to make him happy. Aunt Zhao covered her face, not knowing what to say. Your uncle is dead, and you ask me how to be happy. But Ah Wu didn't understand this at all, so he called Aunt Zhao again, and Aunt Zhao was forced to do not know what to do. She shouted, I want these scum to pay for my old man's life, and I will be happy. I want them to die, all die. The bandits burst out laughing when they heard this, and were about to tie Aunt Zhao back, but as soon as they walked in front of them, they punched her in the face. Ah Wu looked at Aunt Zhao calmly and said, okay, Aunt Zhao and the others, I will let them die. Then a massacre began. In front of Ah Wu, these people were like pieces of paper, one in each hand. Knives and guns couldn't hit her at all. Later, he grabbed a knife from a bandit's hand. Ah Wu, who was holding the weapon, was even more powerful. He cut the bandit leader in half with one knife. Seeing this scene, Aunt Zhao was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Guozi woke up, and his mother told him not to look, but he didn't know that in the eyes of Guozi, who had half-stepped into the alien world, it was another person. A picture. Ah Wu killed all the bandits and saved the whole village, but the people in the village could not tolerate him. They all said she was a monster, and Aunt Shu, who had had a quarrel before, fanned the flames. Aunt Zhao and Guozi quarreled with Aunt Shu again. At this time, the village chief also came out, and he agreed with Shu. As for the second aunt, this village can no longer keep her. No one in the village spoke for Ah Wu and wanted her to leave quickly. Faced with all this, Aunt Zhao was helpless. Then he caught up with Ah Wu, who was walking away. He hugged Ah Wu and said sorry to her, saying that he would take her to find her family, and asked her to remember that her name was Feng Baobao. He went outside to find those who knew Feng Baobao. Find someone who knows his origins. Later, Aunt Zhao told the baby one more thing, saying not to kill anyone again after going outside. Just give the hurt guys a quick beating, you're so powerful anyway. But Baobao said that he would not kill people. Then she asked Aunt Zhao with a puzzled face, I killed those people just now, but weren't you, Aunt Zhao, the one who wanted them dead? After hearing this, Aunt Zhao was shocked into a cold sweat, which prompted Aunt Zhao to make a decision. After that, Aunt Zhao abandoned the baby. Aunt Zhao let the baby hide in the mountains for 2 days, saying that he and Guozi had buried his father and came to pick him up. However, Aunt Zhao did not come back, but took Guozi back with him. Natal family. The reason why he abandoned the baby was because of fear. He didn't blame the baby for not saving Uncle Shu. He just felt that he was too cold, not like a bloody person, which made her fearful. What she didn't know was that the baby would wait in the mountains for decades. For so many years, Baobao has been eating bamboo shoots in the mountains, but this has affected the panda's rations. Without saying anything, the panda slapped the baby, but the next second, he was lying on the ground with a big bump on his head. The baby stayed with the panda for several years until he saw the red panda, and the giant panda would protect the little panda in its arms. Only then did Baobao remember that she had almost forgotten that she was also going to find her family. When Baobao finally got out of the mountain, earth-shaking changes had taken place outside. On the other side, Go Wazi returned to his hometown and joined the small sect where Uncle Shu had been. Decades later, he also became somewhat famous in the alien world. During this period, he returned to the village several times, but failed to find the baby until one day in 1993, when Xu Shang was already middle-aged. Lao Zhao wanted to ask him to help in the new company. He originally wanted to refuse, but suddenly he saw a piece of news in the newspaper. It was Feng Baobao, whose appearance had not changed. At that time, the company began to control aliens, and the baby was taken back on the street. But the next day he punched a big hole in the wall of the shelter. In order to find the baby, Xu Shang agreed to join the company. And half a month later, somewhere in Nanjing, Baobao was running on the street with several drawers of barbecued pork buns. He distributed the stolen barbecued pork buns to children who could not eat. The children were very loyal and said that the baby should eat first. The stubborn baby ate all the barbecued pork. In order to prevent the children from going hungry, she went there again and took away the barbecued pork in front of the police. The chased baby ran into an alley, where she met two gangsters. The gangster was about to teach Baobao a lesson when he was stopped by a woman from behind. He saw that Baobao was easy to deceive and offered to help her find a family. After returning, she dressed up the baby, but their purpose was to sell the baby at a good price. The next day they brought the baby to see a man named Lu Zhe. When they got off the car, the baby asked someone who knew me, where was he? But one of the big men went up and slapped the baby, asking if there is anyone here who knows you. When the baby heard that he was not alive, he was about to leave. The strong man was angry and wanted to stop him, but he was knocked unconscious by the baby's punch. When everyone saw this, they swarmed up and were all knocked down without exception. But the man named Lu Zhe saw some clues and took out an injection. Lie to the baby that he knows and will tell her as long as she injects this. The baby believed Brother Lu's words and was injected with a tube of anesthetic, but it had no reaction at all to her. Brother Lu was also frightened and broke into a cold sweat. It would be troublesome to administer these medicines to the elephant. Then, he asked after a lot of trouble, all the anesthetics were used up and the baby staggered down. The men seized the opportunity for revenge. He showed no mercy to the baby. The baby's face was covered in blood after being beaten, but he still asked him where the people who knew me were. 2 days later, Brother Lu's friend brought over a man named Brother Hu. They usually had dealings with buying and selling girls, and this time the person he introduced to Brother Hu was Feng Baobao. Brother Lu gave the baby more than a dozen tubes of anesthetic, but he was only unconscious for 2 hours, so he cut off the baby's hand and hamstrings and injected him with anesthetic regularly. But even so, the baby could still maintain consciousness. After hearing this, Brother Hu asked the two of them to go out for a while. After the two left, he asked Baobao if your name is Feng Baobao. Feng Baobao asked him, do you know me? But Brother Hu said that he didn't, and that Uncle Rong was looking for you. Just like that, Brother Hu was about to give birth to the baby. When Brother Lu came in again, Brother Bao said to him, thank you Brother Lu. She was stunned by the words, and then laughed and said that she was really stupid, but Bao didn't think so. She felt that Brother Lu didn't lie to her and helped her find someone who knew her, so she thanked him. In this way, the baby was brought to the man named Uncle Rong, and Uncle Rong was also helping someone. That person was Xu Shang. This is the first meeting between the two after decades of separation. Ah Wu has not changed. Go Wazi has grown old, but Bao recognized him immediately because his chi has not changed. Bao told him that there are people here who know me, and I am about to find my family. Xu Shang said to the baby in pain, I'm sorry. He said that the person who knows you is me. The baby didn't say any more, but buried his head in Xu Zhang's shoulder, and slowly slid down, as if he was the last person in his body. Every trace of strength was drained away. Xu Shang also saw that while the baby's hands and feet were tied, the tendons of his hands and hamstrings were also cut. Xu Zhang's face slowly darkened. Then he looked at Uncle Rong and said, you know my position makes it inconvenient to do some things. Afterwards, Brother Hu went to see Brother Lu. Brother Hu treated the couple to a meal and asked them a question at the dinner table. Jackie Chung recently released a new song, have you heard it? The couple curiously asked him what song he was singing, and Brother Hu told him that it was too difficult to turn back. It was also that year that Ah Wu joined the company and became a temporary employee of the company. Temporary workers, this position is very interesting. You can rely on the resources of the organization, but your actions are not completely bound by the rules of the organization, and all the company members are strangers. If the baby does not change things all year round, it will not be particularly noticeable, and the legal identity can be changed at any time. So over the years, people from the Shu family have joined the company's management to provide shelter for the baby. This is the story of the 3 generations of the Shu family and Ah Wu. Zhang Chulan was speechless when he heard this, and the look in his eyes when he looked at Bao changed, but the next second, he thought about his grandfather again. This grandpa did indeed die in Feng Baobao's hands. Xu San and Xu Si comforted Zhang Chulan and said that they only knew about this. Xu Shang even hid this matter from his son. In his words, they couldn't trust him. How could he trust Zhang Chulan? He wouldn't have told these 2 brats unless they had to. When he took Ah Wu back, he immediately started investigating her identity. As he investigated, he discovered that Wu's life experience was closely related to the riots of 1944. However, the number of people who experienced the riots and were still alive has become less and less as time goes by. The few that remain are either living in seclusion or holding high positions of power, and those they come into contact with are also tight-lipped about the matter, so he was prepared for a protracted war and arranged for his men to focus only on those elderly strangers. Finally, he caught the unusual movement 12 years ago. At the same time, some famous seniors of the sects made strange movements, so the two of them rushed to the place and entered the mountain. The moment they entered the mountain, they noticed the smell of blood. The body of the leader of YiRenZhiXia, the leader of Z and Gong corpses, more than a dozen corpses appeared in front of them one after another along the way. Except for some they didn't recognize, the rest were all veteran figures in the alien world. Before the two people who were shocked could react, an extremely strong Shi came from the front. By the time they sneaked closer, the only remaining two people had already finished fighting. One of the white-haired old men said that he was Yang Lai, the former head of Tangmen in Sichuan. At this time, he was bleeding from all his orifices and was dying. The person standing opposite was Zhang Chulan. Zhang Chulan deliberately leaked his whereabouts in order to lure these old guys. He came here to wipe out all the remnants of Jiashan and leave a cleaner world for his descendants and Zhang Chulan. After Yang Lai died, Xu Shang and Feng Baobao walked out. When Zhang Chulan saw Feng Baobao, he called out her name. Zhang Chulan knew him, and he knew that she had not changed at all in decades. Feng Baobao begged him to tell her life experience, but Zhang Chulan asked her to forgive her selfishness. He said he couldn't tell her yet, but he could tell her that the way to get closer to the truth was to find his grandson Zhang Chulan. Zhang Chulan said that he was assured of his son's skills, and the only one he couldn't worry about was his grandson Zhang Chulan. Although Xu Shang didn't quite believe in Zhang Chulan, Bao Bao chose to believe in him. Regardless of Xu Zhang's obstruction, they agreed to Zhang Chulan's request, which was to secretly protect Zhang Chulan. They could only show up when other strangers investigated or threatened Zhang Chulan. At the same time, he also asked the baby for another thing, that is, let him give himself a good time. Zhang Chulan was poisoned by the Tang sect pill, which was a strange poison concocted with his own qi that specifically destroyed the meridians. Then he called the baby close and asked her to give this to Zhang Chulan when he needed strength when he officially entered the alien world. As a bright light shot into the baby's forehead, Zhang Chulan also said, I absolutely trust you, baby Feng. Afterwards, Zhang Chulan's elixir attack occurred, and he asked Feng Baobao to take action, saying that even if there was no today's battle, he would be exhausted. Although Bao Bao didn't want to, he still chose to take action after seeing Zhang Chulan's pain. In this way, Bao Bao relieved Zhang Chulan from his pain, and from that time on, they had been secretly observing Zhang Chulan. They waited for more than 10 years, and finally, as Zhang Chulan had judged, Zhang Chulan was found. This is why Bao Bao took the initiative to contact Zhang Chulan. After Zhang Chulan heard all this, it was hard to accept it for a moment. Feng Baobao said that Grandpa Zhang did not lie to him. Ever since she came into contact with Zhang Chulan, she could feel that something that had been stagnant for a long time was starting to move again. Xu Shang also advised Zhang Chulan not to rush to believe it, but to let him stay in the company and stay with Wu. At the same time, he told Zhang Chulan another thing. In 1944, one of Tian Shifu's disciples disappeared. It was neither death nor expulsion from the sect. He just disappeared silently from the list of Tian Shifu. However, Long Hushan never mentioned this matter, as if this person had never existed before. His name was Zhang Wei. According to his judgment, this person is his grandfather Zhang Chulan, who is also the younger brother of the current heavenly master. After saying this, Xu Shang was about to die. In his last moments, he shed tears. He said that he was worried about leaving Wu to them. He didn't want to die. He still wanted to look at Wu. Wu Jing looked at him and said, Go Wazi, have you forgotten? Calm down your breath and let it settle into your stomach. You will die peacefully. Afterwards, Awu gently stroked Guwazi's forehead and sang Huang Yangbanpo to him. In Wu's singing, scenes that happened in the past flashed through Guwazi's mind one by one. The family of four back then was also fixed in the deepest part of his memory. Xu Shang left peacefully. In front of Xu Zhang's grave 2 days after his death, Zhang Chulan came at the last moment. He burned incense for Mr. Xu, which was considered a choice to believe. There were some things that he needed to verify, and he chose to stay with the baby. On the way back, I told Zhang Chulan about Shi Lao. Shi Lao is the leader of the 10 major forces in the alien world, and can be said to be the top figure in the alien world. Nowadays, major issues in the alien world are basically decided by the 10 guys after consultation. For example, the Luotian Dajao is about to start. Now that the selection has expanded to the entire alien world, this cannot be decided by the Heavenly Master alone. This means that there must be the intervention of the 10 people behind the scenes, and their purpose is also obvious, that is, the origin of Shita.